Hello. This is was my week 7 Friday data presentation. So I will briefly go through what I did and what's the problem and something good I think or something bad I think happened or some mistakes I made. So this is in Python. So like usual, I like it doing in Python because I actually like use Python, and I think I'm more comfortable with this. So what I did is basically read the data. So if you can see, there is a data. So I'm kind of interested in what are some methods like different states used to to penalize the to make those death penalties, and so then I only choose the states and then method and then make a new table, and so this is and so I do have two different one. There is a plot and there is a histogram. So the plot one, I group them by the method and then count. So then right now, so for you can ignore this. I will rename it. So I rename this as a count. So look at this count. So in in nationwide all of those death penalty cases, there are this much of the electrician, there are this much of a firing squad, there are this much of the lethal injections, and so there are only a few cases of hanging and the gas chamber. So yeah, and I renamed the count. So and the why this is, you see this method in this column is actually lower than the count because I made this method into an index, so it's easier for me to implement a way to make it a pie chart. And then in this pie chart, I use a different plots package. It's not ggplot, or sorry, it's not Python default plot. It's something called a MATLAB matplots library, Python plot. So it is some there are some useful. So what I did is I choose these numbers and I calculate it as a percentage, and I put a legend in there. So instead of putting actual word inside the pie chart, I put outside the pie chart because it's actually easier for us to look at it. And I also to put the numbers on a in a legend to tell people like how what a percentage it counts towards the total cases. And then I really like this way because if you put those numbers in, people won't suddenly recognize, for example, the lethal injection occupy almost 90% of entire every cases, like a whole group. So electrician like it has 10%. So instead of putting actual number, I choose the percentage, so people don't have to do the math by themselves. So for the next thing, what I did is I separated them through method to different states. So what this table is doing is telling me, for example, in AL, I think it's Alaska. So lethal injection, there are 64 lethal injections in Alaska. So what I did here is I simply imply that, or I guess there's only one method each state, which that could cause a problem later. But what I did right now is I just guess there's only one kind of death penalty in each state. So this table is literally by each state there are this much of lethal injection. There are some states that has this much of the electrician, and so yeah, so I literally just try to guess. There's only one way to make a death penalty happen in that state. So and then uh, I also give them color for later parts to make them in a histogram. I put them in double quoted histogram. I did try to put in the histogram, but I somehow cannot make the histogram into different colors. So I instead of doing that, I actually put them in dots, so that it works similar to the histogram. So for this part, what I did is so for each method, I give them a color. So for lethal injection, I make them color a. Oh, that's interesting. That's something new that I find interesting because so what I was doing here is if the method is lethal injection, the color should be medium purple. But if it's a firing squad, it should be orange. Why this is orange? So and then so yeah, that's where the problem caused. So I guess there should be still some more debugging I should do for this data presentation. I I apologize for that. So I guess for Arizona, there are two ways of two methods in Arizona. Which one should be another one should be firing squad, and but lethal injection should be also part of it. So yeah, and so basically what this does is give it color so it can better group those things. So what this graph doing is for each color by states, there are how many death penalties and what are methods. So the X are basically states and the Y are how many the actual number of it. So the problem of this is I try to put them in. I try to put it in histogram, but like I said, I cannot give those bins different colors. Another problem I had was I tried to make a legend uh, like this one. So I just cannot do it in a scatter plots. I guess since I don't have a smooth or a actual line, so I don't have the legend to explain that line. So that's why I'm guessing I have that problem here. So if it's a real data presentation, what I'm gonna do is literally I will copy paste like a screen copy this legend and put them on top of it here. Okay. So then let's look at this legend, this plot. So what this plot does is for each state it has a color. So the color represents what method it does, and how high the point is or how tall the point is representing like how many cases, how many death penalty cases happen in that states. So we can say Texas definitely has a lot of death penalties, and they use the lethal injection the most. And that there are some states that use electrician, and some states use a red. Red stands for firing squad. So actually, Henning. Yeah, some states use Henning is represents red. So I guess I apologize for this part. I should definitely be more careful to do some lethal do some debugging. Also, part of you said it was to make this zero at the very end of the at very bottom of the graph. I did try to think of that, but since there are actually some cases that only have a three, if you and the scale is 500, over 500. So what I'm gonna do is probably I will take Texas out and try to make that zero at the very bottom, so that the only those cases that have only one, those states that only have one case can something like can only it's not it's gonna be more obvious than it is gonna be if you have a zero at the very bottom and have a one that is super close to zero. So yeah, and I think that's all for my week 7, and thank you for listening.